Hi, welcome to another episode of Celebrating Small Family Businesses. And today we are celebrating Susan and Lindsay Trumpler. They actually have two businesses together, Beyond ROI and also Unstoppable Women in Business. So um, we've got so much to talk about. I don't know if we can get it all in one episode, but let's try. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good. Good to be here.
Good. How are you doing today?
Very good. Welcome. So I want to start, I think, with Beyond ROI because that's what really, I related to so much because I came from a training and, the instructional design in my short corporate career. And you guys have figured out a way to measure the results accurately of training and apparently done it much simpler than the prevailing theories prior to that. So let's go there.
All righty. All right. Beyond ROI is a company that Lindsay and I have been partners in now for 14 years. And you're right, John. It is really focused on how to measure the business impact. So, the lagging indicator of success, the financial impact of sales training. And we do focus mostly on sales training. We do some other forms of training, but really it's primarily designed for sales training purposes because there's such a direct correlation between a behavior and a result when you're in sales. If you make this change, you sell more, right? Or you don't sell more. So we work a lot with sales training companies to measure their engagements for their clients so that they know whether or not it was a good investment. And when I first bought the business, it's been about 14 years. Lindsay was just out of college, and she and I were doing something called co-working in one space together, which was kind of a new concept at the time. I had an office, and she, was selling real estate and
Yeah,
franchises.
I had done some real estate and then I was working on selling franchises at the
Yeah.
time.
So she was kind of cohabitating with me in my office, and she was listening to the conversations I had with our clients. And after a while, she was like, "Man, you sound like you could use some help, Mom. Do you want me to help you out a little bit?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you could run some projects for me, that would be great." And so she took that on. And then after doing that for a little while, this entrepreneur brain of hers went, you're never going to be able to scale this business, right? And so I'm like, I don't know. So I'll let you pick up from there, Lindsay, on what you noticed in the business. And
Well, it was very manual. Everything that we were doing was very manual. Every project was different and every project had to be customized. And I just saw a lot of room for improvement in order to be able to scale the business at some point. That's kind of when I came on board with Beyond ROI. And that is when the fun started.
What kind of fun was that?
It's interesting when you take on a role. So we had a really difficult time at first staying in our lanes. Everything was kind of commingled and everything was okay, you do this today and I'll do that tomorrow and we quickly realized that that was not a sustainable road for us. It was really hard on our relationship for a while,
Hmm.
and we had to involve a coach to help us work through a lot of the communication and kind of defining our roles in a way that was sustainable for us.
that's a good way to put it. He helped us define our roles, but he also helped us understand each other better because I think I know Lindsay would
Mhm.
describe this as I'm a, thinker, like dreamer, ideas woman, talker. I'm out there in just la la land, enjoying all of the big picture concepts. But Lindsay is a little bit more balanced where she can go there. And then when it's time to work, she can buckle down and do the actual nitty gritty detail stuff. Where I have a really hard time with detail and left brain thinking. And so I just remember Lindsay saying to me one day we had, one day we had an ideation session. where we just really reimagined all this really cool things that we could do. And then we went home and we came back in the next day and I just had lots more ideas. And I think she had just hit a limit on ideas. She's like, can we just get the work done? Can we just finish? Can we just do what we decided to do before you start layering more things on this? And when she said that to me, I felt like my hot air balloon was
The
being
word you used was
squished,
squished.
you know? And
Really?
Lynn's was like, I'm doing all this work and you're just like doing all this like idea thinking. This isn't going to work. This just not going to work. So that's
That
when
is
we,
so
Yeah.
interesting. And you know
Yeah.
what's jumping out for me is that the timing there in your as far as your life stages, right? Lindsay's right out of college and you've been in the business, you had a career for a while. Usually in two generations of family, it's the young person that's coming in out of college all full of ideas and excuse the term piss and vinegar, let's change everything.
that is so
and
funny.
the older generation
Right.
has to stop them, slow them down a little bit.
I've never thought about it that way, but that's true.
So
Well, and part of my angst in that time period was that I am that type of thinker. I do love to, I graduated with a degree in entrepreneurship. Like I knew that I was going to own and run my own businesses. And I had lots and lots of ideas in college and post college and leading into Beyond ROI. But my brain, the way that my brain works is more of a doer. I'm more of a kind of a on this earth type person. I stay firmly planted on this earth. And Susan operates in the clouds. And we discovered that very quickly. And it really, really helped to understand. We work in all sorts of different realms of understanding. Like we look at astrology, we look at personality types. We've done all the different quizzes to see how they come together. And the astrological side of it actually really helped me understand it even up to this year. And we're talking for the last 15 years almost. We're still evolving in our understanding of each other. But it's fascinating. And when you look at it from the outside, it's very clear how both of us operate. But when we first started operating together as a team, it was super challenging to do that, while being so in it.
But it was so good to have a coach
So,
work with us to
yeah.
because it's all about communication. You can know all of those things, right? You
Mhm.
can know your human design
Mhm.
and your brain preferences and such. But it came down to when she says this, what do you hear, Susan? I'm like, what I
Uh-huh.
hear is, and he's like, and Lindsay, is that what you said? And so it was honestly so useful just to have a mediator there to talk with us in a way that was very hard to do without someone else in the room, without it getting, the tension getting, kind of uncomfortable and people shutting
Mhm.
down. It was invaluable. All of the pieces had to come together in order for
yeah,
us to really nail a system that's now been working for us for nearly 15 years. So,
awesome.
Well, I should also add to the conversation that at the point that we did bring on our coach, we had also brought in several employees, including my older sister, one of my best friends. We had
wow.
several programmers. It was a interesting dynamic at the time. It was really fun to learn about everybody's different ways of operating.
And good for you for getting help. Because some people wait till it's way too late until the relationship is pretty much
Right.
burned out before they do that. So
Well,
kudos to you two for getting help quickly
thank you.
and then making sure that everybody else got that what they helped and that what they needed also. Because it's hard coming
Yeah,
in, as you well know. Good.
This
absolutely.
is awesome.
And it makes it even harder when the two people that are running the ship are at odds
Correct.
or having,
Mm-hmm.
difficulty in their conversation. So, Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really, really beneficial.
And that's a common challenge in small family businesses. You were very aware of how the tension between you was affecting the company, from what I'm hearing. A lot of owners aren't really aware. That's just their family stuff, and it's so normal to them. They don't realize that, yelling at their spouse or their child in the workplace is affecting the employees.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would just be not even an option for us. We're both development focused, and individually we do a lot of work on ourselves. So I think it was a very quick process for us to come to the realization that we needed a third party to help us navigate the waters.
Well, I just want to grab that right there. So, doing your work on yourself, one of our, strong principles is that the business, the growth of the business matches the growth of the owner, or is limited by the growth of the owner. So the highest return on investment, if I can borrow your term, the ROI, is investing in the growth of the owner. That's
Definitely.
And speaking of which,
For
I don't
sure.
want to. We could talk about this one topic all the time, but we got other stuff that you've done. Like, Susan, you wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I read the book this weekend. I love it.
Thank you.
I could not wait for this call because I'm reading this book. And one of the things in there, it talked about intentional thinking. And I said, oh my God, we are so aligned. So yes, I can recommend this book, whether you don't have to be a woman to read this book. And I'm not sure you have to be in sales, because your process for, just like figuring out and separating
the story
the
from the
fact,
fact.
basically facts from the story. Yes.
Mm.
That's so spot on. I am going to be borrowing that, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really fun to write it. It didn't take me that long because it's something that's deep inside of me, the process that I share with people on how to really discern what's going on in your mindset is something I've, learned 10 or more years ago. Oh gosh, it was even longer than that, and has been guiding the way we talk. And Lindsay and I, again, we bring this into our business. Whenever you hear something or think something, you really have to stop for a minute and say, is that really true? Or is that a fact? Or is that something my mind is offering to me, to kind of protect me from going places that are uncomfortable? And that's usually where challenges come into play, especially when you are in sales.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The way we learned to describe that is it externally verifiable? Like, could you take a picture of it, or could 10 other
right.
people see it? Or is it only internally verifiable, like a feeling? And like, everybody's mad at me. Really?
The whole world, all 20 billion people are
And the
mad at you.
emotional, like the emotional content, or the level of emotion that's attached to it is pretty good clue, isn't it, Susan?
Yeah, it is.
Of needing to ask that question.
It is.
So,
It's another thing that happens. I think that's another thing that you can use to work through partnership when you're in business with people and you're working towards a particular goal, and you're not getting the results you want. It's like, where are we? Is it the actions we're taking, in essence, that are not getting us the results we want? Or is it perhaps some way that we're looking at it or thinking about it that's blocking us from making the progress that we want to make? And so just being aware of every tool you have to make, life a little easier is, I think, important.
I think too, that's where a coach can come in, as you've said, that they can help you organize that and kind of see past yourself sometimes. Because we kind of get caught in our own world, don't we?
Absolutely.
And conning land is a lot of fun sometimes, and sometimes it's not a lot of fun.
I love that.
Let's talk about your other business.
yes.
Sure.
So, and did your experience with bringing in the coach in the early days of Beyond ROI, is that what led you into coaching and into the She Boss Café
Yes.
community and Unstoppable Women?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting genesis because I've always wanted to have a coaching practice. Even before I bought Beyond ROI and we went through that whole journey together, it was just something that I really was passionate about. And the time just never seemed to be right. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, Lindsay said to me, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this beyond ROI thing. She's a starter. She just loves getting things and building them. But, the ongoing thing isn't really what gives her energy. And so she said, I think I want to just move out and do something else, or move on and do something else. And she said, you can have the business, Mom. You can go from here. And I'm like, whoa, no, wait a second. Not interested. It had become like, I couldn't even imagine being in this business without her. It just would be not the same. And we'd been doing it long enough that it was like, I wouldn't mind moving on myself. And so it felt like the right time to start moving towards building this second business, this coaching practice. And as I did that, I kept saying to Lindsay, I really would love it if you'd want to be part of this. And she was like, no, enough of you already. Enough of you, Mom,
No.
enough. And I ran it for about 5 years as a typical, coaching practice with one-on-one clients and group coaching. I loved it, but I can't even remember. I'm going to ask you if you remember, Lindsay. At some point, this idea of a community, creating a community of women entrepreneurs to put as like an umbrella over the coaching practice came into my mind. Lots of ideas. I said, come on, Lynn, do this. I can't do this without you. Do you remember the genesis of that?
Uh, I
Yeah.
don't, honestly. I do remember that, I remember saying to you that I was not passionate about
Yes.
coaching, and I knew that I myself did not want to be a coach. And so I think when we started talking about community, I thought about something that I could
Yes.
build. And we didn't really touch on this, but our roles with Beyond ROI ended up being very clearly defined, where I was the back end and I was the person that put all the automations into place, and I did all the technology things and continued to do all of those. And Susan was always the client facing person, because just she loves talking on the phone. She loves it, and I don't. And so, I didn't really see a need for my set of skills within her coaching practice, and didn't feel like I had the energy to kind of define that again. It was not until we started talking about a community that I even saw a place where I would fit in.
I think that was the key to Lindsay agreeing to come into Unstoppable Women in Business, was this idea of building a community portal, a web, in essence, a platform. And thank God she did, because it has really exploded. I'm really glad that she decided to come into it, though, because again, anyone who would ever consider running a community and having a place where people can come for resources, for events, there's so many moving parts. So many moving parts. And
Mhm.
so she manages all of the operations and the back end of that particular business as well. And I'm out there, the front woman, running the actual events and talking with people and doing the coaching. And it's just a perfect fit for us to work together.
That's really helpful for me to hear, because I had the same sense. What we're doing with celebrating small family businesses, I can see a community gelling around that at some point.
Mhm.
But I'm also aware that running a community would be a major commitment, and I would have to have a community manager. Absolutely can't put any more on my plate.
You
Yes.
should see
So,
Connie behind you,
that is,
John.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot. As a matter of fact, it's our first anniversary in the She Boss Café, which is the name of the community. And I added up we've run over 250 events over the past year on the
Wow.
platform, and countless threads, and it's just resources and courses. It's really a robust community. There is no way that one person could do this. Um, it's
Mm-mm.
almost a full-time job.
oh, but
For
that
sure.
sounds like a really valuable community. I've participated in a few communities, and a couple of them, when they started, there was a lot of activity, and then I came in like 6 months later, and it had trailed off, and they'd moved to a Facebook group, or it's
Well, No, ours is getting
It's gotta
stronger.
be
We've
big.
got almost
Yeah.
400 members in the community now, and we're hoping to be able to hit 500 well before the end of the year. So it's good. It's
And
good, but
that's a
it's a
very
lot.
scalable model as well. So way to go, Lindsay.
Yeah. Well, it's taken both of us
It
for
does.
sure. It's been a lot of work, but yeah, I can see why the one that you joined would trickle off because it is a marathon, not a sprint. It is an absolute marathon. So,
Well, for our listeners, if there are other businesses that see, a community as part of their growth,
well,
be forewarned.
Yeah.
And now they know who to call.
I know I keep telling Lindsay she does such a great job. She should have a consulting package available. And she's like, no, thank you. It's a lot.
Susan, do you still do
there's just
one-on-one?
so many variables.
Do you still do one-on-one coaching?
Oh, yeah, I do. I do. I have, let me just say my preference is to stay in group coaching just from a time constraint standpoint. I'm
Mhm.
training some coaches within my community to be able to do more of the group coaching, and then I'll have time to do more one-on-one coaching. But until we get there, it's just only so much time in your calendar. You know how that goes.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Well, you also have a podcast. So there's a She Boss Cafe podcast. I've
Yes.
listened to your most recent episode, and because you featured, it's Jen Donatelli Jones, right?
Yes. Yes. Jen
Okay.
Jones
Wait,
Donatelli.
Jen
JJD.
Jones. Okay,
Jen Jones
I
Donatelli.
was that's how it shows on Facebook. Okay, so I wanted to give a shout out to Jen because she's the one that connected us,
Yes.
and I want to thank her. But she's also a media relations expert, and that's a really interesting episode that you've got. So I
Oh,
want to make sure people know that.
she's been such a great resource to us in the community. So we have in our community, we invite other experts to come in and be guest contributors. And Jen happens to be one of the people who comes in and does webinars for us and comes on the podcast. To me, a community truly is where everyone has input. It's not just somebody's platform, but where people can come in, they can share their expertise, their ideas, their questions, and anybody can answer. So we're lucky to have Jen as a contributor from a PR standpoint.
Wonderful.
Fab.
Well, so we haven't even touched on our standard questions that we ask,
Go ahead.
but we've already answered a challenge that you've overcome together. That's definitely done. And you've made very clear what you love about working together as family, because you've said, I couldn't imagine doing it without Lindsay. What would be a piece of advice or a lesson that you've learned, something that you know now that you wish you'd known back then that you think other family business owners could benefit from?
That's a great question. I think it really just comes down to understanding yourselves and then understanding how you can benefit the other person and vice versa. It's incredibly important. I think we were very lucky because we had the built-in respect for each other already. And so to understand how we could stop stepping on each other's feet, the faster you can define that and figure that part out, I think is the key, honestly, to be able to work with family. It's not an easy combination. You lose some of that kind of formality, I guess, when it's a family member. You lose some of the built-in respect, for lack of better words, but to hold that and to maintain that is critical
Yeah,
because
family members you don't have
yeah,
a filter with.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I think the filter comes in handy.
It does.
And when you lose that, it's a
It is.
problem.
It is.
It's also I think it's also a really good strategy to ensure that you can keep personal conversations personal and not let business come into play in all of your conversations.
Mhm.
Susan is my mom, and sometimes I just want to talk to my mom. I don't want to talk about business. I don't want to talk about how, what the week looked like or what it's going to look like next week. It's just sometimes you need to have a, let's not talk about work for these 30 minutes or
Yeah.
whatnot. you know.
So you
Yeah.
set up,
Yeah.
you set an intention, and you agree to
Mhm.
some boundaries on the purpose of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard one group, they had different hats. So when one of them was wearing the
Mm.
mom hat, we knew who you were talking to. Another one was the boss hat.
Yeah.
You knew who you were talking to. And so that made it clear so that the intentions were straight up right then. So
Yeah,
kind of a
you
fun
know,
thing.
that wouldn't have worked with us as well, the boss hat thing, because we're definitely partners.
Okay.
And we have been since pretty much day
Mhm.
one.
Good.
And I think we both knew that the reason why I majored in entrepreneurship is because I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to work for myself. And Susan respected that. She's always respected me, even since I was a wee little one.
Yeah.
We were partners since I was a teenager. So
Fab.
it kind of, yeah, for us, it worked to define that,
Yes.
you
Very good.
know?
Yes. And so your
Yeah.
hats could have said partners. You could have
Or
Yeah.
biz.
names and then
sure.
partner. But clarifying those roles, that is a very common, very important theme that we're seeing in the companies, the businesses that are really got it figured out, really doing well.
Mhm.
Everybody's real clear on their roles.
Mhm.
Oh, and we got a couple of things we've got to share with you. I want to make sure we connect you to somebody in our network who is a karmic astrologer for 42 years experience with,
Well,
especially in family. And I want to make sure we connect you with a guy who has a very different take on the personality stuff. Since you've done that work, I think you might really like that.
Yeah.
love that.
So
Yeah.
Because we're big on all that stuff too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We finally
right.
did the Clifton Strengths, and after being together since God was invented, he finally learned that no, I hate the computer.
well, I learned it's not your strength.
How many years have I been telling him that? No, leave me alone. But once he saw that, he went, "Oh yeah, that's true. You really don't."
So in a different framework.
There you go.
So what is the most valuable thing you've learned from one of your employees?
You want to answer that, Susan?
We automated our employees out of our business.
We
Yeah.
did. What we learned about employees is that we don't want to have employees. We loved our time with our employees. However, I am not a manager. Susan is definitely not a manager. Employees don't work for us.
Mm.
Technology does.
Wonderful.
So that is what we figured out pretty early in our business. And God, we miss our time with them. A lot of
Oh,
time, we went on amazing retreats and we had so much
they were
fun.
great.
But from a day-to-day process, it didn't make sense for us in Beyond ROI, and it definitely doesn't make sense for us yet in She Boss Café. And when we bring them on in She Boss Café, they will likely be contractors.
Mhm.
Yeah, similar to what we ended up doing with Beyond ROI. I have a few programmers that live internationally, so I don't need to be constantly managing. They just do the
Yeah.
projects and, deliver the results.
That's really interesting. When there's a task to be done that's clearly defined with an outcome, you know what to expect. It's fine managing somebody, but to have people
Mhm.
full-time or part-time and this whole thing about, like what are they doing and are they getting it done and how
Being
long
fun.
it was an energy drain. So we
Mhm.
just
Yeah, we're not good managers. We're just really not good
mm-mm.
managers that's the
And we don't
answer.
want to be. Like it's
Um,
not
Me,
something
yeah,
that's
I'd
not your
want to
strength.
do.
That's not your skill
you're
set.
okay with that. Yeah,
Smart.
we're totally okay with that.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
don't, in order to have a group of full-time employees, you'd probably have to find that manager
Yes.
that would manage them,
Right,
and then you
we're-
would just
And not need
interface
us to
with the
manage that person.
manager.
Yeah.
Right. They would have to be very independent.
Exactly.
Wow.
So
What
know
a
your
great
role,
lesson
know
to
what you're
learn.
good at. Again, just Connie, just like
Well,
you're not a computer person. We are not manager people. You just
There
know
you go.
what you're good at and design your business around that and you do better.
Correct. Right.
Rental.
Right.
Oh man. And so my last question, what's next?
Yeah.
Where's it going?
I don't know. What do you think, Linz?
I mean, I think sky is the limit with She Boss Cafe. I think what we're doing now is so fulfilling on so many different levels. I think that we're truly empowering women entrepreneurs to do what they want to do and do it in a more fun way, in a way that makes them feel connected and not, soloed. As an entrepreneur, you can tend to feel really alone. And I think our greatest desire is to be able to be successful while doing that, and if we can continue to stay in both of our lanes and continue to work like we're working now, I think we'll be fine doing that. I think it's definitely, this is what's next. Absolutely.
I love it. Yes, we have so many more places that we can go with the cafe. And especially, I like to think of it more as a cooperative for women entrepreneurs where
Mhm. Mhm.
women get certified, for instance, as
Mhm.
coaches, or they get, they become really good at what they do, but they don't enjoy the marketing and the sales aspect of it. If we can collect enough women entrepreneur and bring them under the cafe level, and then they can offer services within the cafe to other
Mhm.
members. They don't have to go out to find their own audiences. It's almost like, the old country market where everybody's got a booth set up and everybody has something that they're really good at, and whatever you need, you go to that booth and you get what you need. So eventually we would love to see that be where Linz and I are just overseeing the cooperative. And we travel. Lindsay and I love traveling together. We will be over in Italy
Mhm.
drinking limoncello and watching the cafe from afar, going, look at those ladies go. This is awesome.
Wow.
That would be what's next. That definitely is a good. Right now we're just we're in the thick of it. We're growing it. We're, creating the infrastructure, and hopefully that is exactly where we can head.
So if people want to, where would you like our listeners to find you? Let me say it that way.
Yes. Come join us in the cafe. It's shebosscafe.com.
Mhm.
They can find out all about it and sign up. It's free. We have multiple levels of the cafe. The lounge area is free. And that's where we have a majority of our events and resources, classes, different things that we have available. And then we also have, they can,
We should say it's free right now. If you're really listening to this podcast and after a year from now, it will no longer be free.
Okay.
But there are tons of resources in there, and endless amounts of events that you can take advantage of in the meantime.
see, she's got the
That's-
business mind.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've already referred somebody to your free level. I have a friend who's
Thank you.
does personal branding in the healthcare space for executives in the
Awesome.
healthcare space, and I said, I think this might be a fit for you too.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Awesome.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Any last
No,
words or
just
questions?
just good luck with everything. Can't wait to see where you're going to go next.
Thanks, Connie. Appreciate that.
Might see
Thank
Connie in the She
you.
Boss
So
Cafe.
nice
You
to
might
meet
see me
you.
there. That's right.
Yes, come in and join
I
us.
hope
I would
so.
love to. I would love to.
Oh, such a pleasure meeting
Please
both of
Yeah,
you. And
is there-
congratulations on your success.
Is there any words of wisdom that you'd like to give, your fellow entrepreneurs out there?
Ooh, yes. Is that okay if I go first, Linz?
Go
Don't
for
expect the first thing you try to work, and don't get frustrated.
it.
It is, I know it's so trite to
Yeah.
hear it. It's like, you're either winning or you're learning, but it's true. You got to try a bunch of things. And that's where the partnership comes in too. Linz and I are there for each other, and it's so, because sometimes it does get lonely and frustrating to be an entrepreneur. And so having somebody to lean into when things are a little tough are great. But just expect that things that you try are not always going to work the first time. And it's all right. It really is okay.
Absolutely. I second that. And to piggyback on that, there is value in failing quickly.
Absolutely.
Fail fast and be okay with it.
Mhm.
Just don't overlook it when something says this isn't going to work. say, okay, I did my best. Next.
But what did I
Yes.
learn from that? What did I learn from what didn't
Exactly.
work?
Take away everything.
Absolutely. And write it down.
100%.
And if possible, fail fast, fail small, right?
Yep.
Take little chances. Don't put all your chips on the first thing you try. Right? Fail fast,
That's
small,
right.
fail small, and fail often.
Yeah.
Failure's a requirement in learning.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Oh,
Thank you
we're so
so
aligned. I
much.
can't wait to see where this goes and to have more
Thank
interaction
you.
with you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Righty. Well, we will put all of the contact information in the show notes so our listeners can find you easily.
Thank you again.